So everyone knows Zen bitch slap a little bit? Yes? No? All right, well. All right. Guess we should just jump right in. First of all, well, thanks for having me here. But I'd like to put this out that, in a sense, this talk is more about a warning, yeah? A warning about what may be happening without us knowing it. And this is what happened with me when I started to hear people share this. Something occurred, something got triggered, and then as I was looking into some people's writings, like old Zen masters and Ramana Maharshi would say, this is the problem, or the greatest mystery of all the mysteries is this, that reality is attempting to attain reality. Yeah. So that was really, I heard that. It was sort of like an old Zen saying where there's a guy speaking and he says, I'm like a man standing by the river selling water. And then he says, it's even funnier that I'm like a man standing in the river selling water. And then I walked out when I heard that, never went to see him again. Because that's the point. Now, wherever it goes after that, who knows, you know, as an action figure. But it's sort of like, it's like a cigarette package where they have that warning, you know, smoking cigarettes could be hazardous to your health. I believe this little idea should be on every spiritual book. Yeah, a sort of a warning that the mental process is going to claim whatever it is brought into contact with by us, yeah, by us being conscious and stuff, and it's going to use it to imply that there's a someone there, yeah. That's the heist. And it's so fast that people feel they're people, basically. So let's say they're into meditation, and there's a hope that whatever they think they're in, the meditation may help to get out of it, but it'll never get them out of the idea of being the meditator. Yeah, so the meditation will be claimed and be used to imply the meditator. And it won't be broken by more meditation. Yeah. Whatever the quantity is, it doesn't matter. The same habit, mental habit, is going to trigger, which is when there's an action and it becomes aware of that action, it claims that action to imply the actor. And then you would think that maybe certain actions or certain arenas of life would be immune to that takeover, but I found that's not so. So the spiritual life is just as easily taken over than the other type of lives, yeah? It doesn't have, there's no like electrified fence of a 5,000-year-old tradition that keeps it out. So in seeing this, Ramana Maharshi spoke about it like this. He says there's a presupposing of a non-existent thing that wants to get salvation for the non-existent thing. So, and in this message, it's best not to stop at periods, yeah? It's best not to stop at a comma or a new paragraph. Let the mind entertain, yeah, what it hears. It's like here, this is like a spiritual shoe store. You've all come, and basically you may have ideas of what you think you need for spiritual shoes. Maybe you think it's going to be a long, arduous trip, so you need some nice hiking boots with good tread. Others feel like it's going to be really hot, so they want aerated type of shoes. But I'm not going to listen to what you say, humbly. I'm going to bring some shoes out, and these are the statements. These are the shoes. And if the shoe fits, wear it, because that's what happened to me. If it doesn't fit, take what you can and leave the rest and go on doing what you feel is what you need to do. Because you do not want to get into non-duality as a path. You've got to see it as a fact. Yeah, that's prior to everything else. If it's turned into a path, you're going to get so twisted that you're going to be trying to become a non-self as a self. Yeah. So you're going to withhold what you need based on where you seem to be by running this philosophical thing that there is no Paul. Yeah. I've had people do this. They called me up and they're trying to explain something simple. Someone they loved left them. But in this explanation, well, there is no me, so they didn't leave me, and there isn't a person who left. And it goes on and on and on. Finally, they break down and start crying after 20 minutes. They could have just started there, and they would have gotten more relief from that than this whole yapping going on of there isn't this, there isn't that. So this is a perfect example of when the mental state claims non-duality. Yeah. It does the same thing it does with everything else. It claims it and attempts to use it to imply the one. Where non-duality is a complete negation of this idea of you and me, this and that. Yeah, it's a complete negation of duality, which is two-ness. It doesn't say there's oneness. It's just a negation of two-ness. Yeah, we say there's oneness, but it doesn't. It just negates two-ness, and then you'll find out what's going on. Yeah. You can't know what's going on because, in a sense, you cannot know what you are. You can't study what you are. You can study what you're not. You can know what you're not. The only possibility about what we are is to be it. That's it. Yeah. And I'm saying you're being it right now. It's just that many of us don't think so. And the don't is always about thinking, yeah? Something that's impossible, that you're something other than what you are, is made possible through thought, yeah? So non-duality is a fact. So you hear these statements, like there's a presupposing of a non-existent thing, wanting to get salvation for the non-existent thing. Now, if you heard that, it makes no freaking sense, does it? First of all, how could you get salvation from a non-existent thing? It doesn't exist. So basically, the salvation would be an inherent condition, yeah? Based on the non-existence of that you like to get out of. It doesn't exist, so it's the idea that you're in it that drives the wanting to get out of it. But we're not having any opinion about all the ways to get out of it. We're just questioning, are you in it? Yeah? All the ways, I don't care about all the ways to get out of it. I want to know, am I in it? Because if I'm not in it, I may not need those ways to get out of it. Yeah? But if I believe or assume or it's constantly suggested that I'm in it, and that's not looked at, I will be driven to get out of it, and that's seeking. Yeah, and spiritual seeking is just a big. I swear, I wish there was like interventions in spiritual seeking. No, really, I wish there was a committee that if you wanted to go on another damn freaking retreat, that you'd have to send the reasons why you feel you need to go on a retreat to a certain committee that wasn't run by the person who was running the retreat, but an unbiased committee that would get and say, no, you've had enough. If 20 of them haven't worked, how is the 21st going to work? But there's none of that here. People can just do what, There's no quota of how many books you can freaking read. There's no one going to walk up here and tap you on the shoulder and tell you, you've got to leave. You've had enough. I've seen you at too many of these talks. And seriously, from here, it would be a disservice for you to hear it fucking anymore. Really. It's a disservice because it's time to entertain. You've worn the shoes. If they fit, wear them. Stop going to the freaking shoe store or going to the one who's selling the same freaking shoes, but you like them better. And please don't mix or match. You can't have non-duality with some other shoe. Wear it, and if it works, wear it. Yeah? And to me, it's entertaining. You entertain it. It's not a period. So when it says the seeker is the sought, that volumes happen after that. You hear it, you're like, the seeker is the sought. It just triggers like avalanches, yeah? Or, you know, you are what you're looking for. It just blows your mind. Wait a minute, what? Were these people sadists, really? Did they want to cause more suffering in us? I think they were trying to save us time. They were trying to warn us that there's a paradigm that we're living under that we're not aware of. And we believe, without knowing, that there's certain areas of life that are untouchable by this paradigm. And therefore, if I'm in a noble 5,000-year-old lineage, that mental state, that parasitical movement, that claiming will not try it in this situation or in this temple or in this cave, and you're mistaken. It will claim wherever you are. It's going to claim it, whatever you're doing or not doing, it's going to claim it to imply the doer of it or the not doer of it. Yeah? I heard this, you know, I haven't spoke of anything else in years because there's no point to move on from here if this isn't clear. There's no point because that heist will be in full swing and you will believe that you can do yourself out of what you're not actually in, and it's not going to work. That's how it serves us. It fails us so that we can see it can't work. You cannot escape from an imaginary place. It's impossible. See, in self-centeredness, all the evidence that's right under our nose gets used to point out to our view from the mental state that we didn't do enough, that we should have read more, we should have meditated more. If I could only concentrate more, or I met more teachers, or I stayed around, or maybe I should have, and in this case, it could be true, put more money in the donation box. All these things, we start looking at, you know, somehow I had something to do with it. I'm humbly telling you, I would have a lot of suspicion about that, really. And again, if this shoe fits, wear it. If you hear something in this talk, then run with it. If you don't, go hear something else. Yeah. There is no, see, this is no way. It's either a fact or it's not to you. There can't be, it doesn't swing back and forth. There's either two or there isn't two. Yeah. So non-duality is a fact, and it is not a path to illumination. It will illuminate whatever path you're on, but it's not a path to illumination because there's no one on it. Literally. It's just seeing what you're not, or hearing about it. Hearing a description of what we intimately feel is describing us, and then having the big punchline, which is, and it's not us. Yeah? If that works, let it work. If it doesn't work, do whatever else works for you. Do not starve yourself from what you need based on a freaking philosophy. Yeah. You don't want to, it's, being right about non-duality ain't it. Yeah. You're just going to be as empty as fucking ever. You know, get what you need. If nothing is what you need, non-duality is the place. Because you're going to get nothing. And you're going to keep getting nothing. Yeah? And then the nothing obviously will start appearing to be everything to you because you're not 2 levels below a coconut. You're recognizing something's working. And it's beautiful because it doesn't need much maintenance. Yeah? Because it's always available at all times, right where we are, with no requirement necessary. That is not a trick. It's true. It's always available at all times, right where I am, with no requirement necessary, except for the ones I make up. And if you made them up and you believe them, you better freaking do it. If you believe you need to meditate and then you try not to meditate based on a freaking philosophy, it doesn't work, yeah? It doesn't work. So yeah, so this says the presupposing a non-existent thing, wanting to get salvation for the non-existent thing. Now I had a direct hit about this when I was young. It didn't come into this understanding, but I've remembered it since, where I had an Uncle Fred who I used to see him at the relative parties and he used to give me money behind his back, and so I liked him. You know, he bought me off. And he died when I was 9, and my mother took me to the funeral. And we went up to the casket. I looked in, and I saw the body called Uncle Fred, but I had a direct hit. That ain't Uncle Fred, yeah, because I was mistaking the non-existent thing, which was the body, to be the existing animation, which is let's call it Fred, yeah. And then in hindsight, I go, why would I make that mistake? Because obviously, when I saw the inert body, it was obvious that had never been Uncle Fred. And then obviously, because I was taking the animation, yeah, as this body called Paul. So I was, from this diluted point, I was seeing it in every other point. Once I saw that body, I realized that ain't Uncle Fred, yeah? So that's the presupposing of a non-existent thing, which is the body, and then wanting to get salvation for that non-existent thing. But what causes the wanting to get salvation for it isn't the non-existent thing, it's the existing animation, yeah? You're alive, you're on, and that's what causes it to make sense that, hey, I have to get salvation for this thing because this thing is screwed up, or whatever it may be. Or I heard some thing about lifetimes of practices will bring me to a super place called enlightenment, or whatever, yeah? So then, in that logic, as soon as the existing no thing is identified as the non-existent thing, then salvation for the non-existent thing makes tons of sense. Yeah. As soon as that's in place, it makes tons of sense. And then, let's say you hear the message of non-duality, but you're hearing it as the non-existent thing, and then you try to apply it, it doesn't work. Yeah? It's a seeing what you're not. That's what non-duality reveals. It reveals what you're not. And when it reveals a lot of what you're not, there's an obviousness of what you are, which is the seeing, and then there's a big hit on it. Yeah? And then there's a seeing of what you're not. And something is very clear, and it has a convincing quality, because it's very difficult to switch back and forth from what you're not to what you are, what you're not, what you are. It doesn't happen that way. What you're not is going to keep appearing, yeah? But what you are is always available at all times, and it's more like the screen to the appearance of what you're not, yeah? So the screen, if you watch just a typical screen in movies, I don't think the movie theaters change the screen like every week. You know what I mean? Like they had an army movie, so the screen is full of holes. Or, you know, they like a lot of melodramas and it's wet too much, you know? No, the screen doesn't get affected at all by what's moving over it. Yeah, I bet you some of them never change the screen at all. And the screen has held thousands of movies, yeah? Yet not one movie left a lasting impression on the screen. That's what we are like. That's what mind is like, bigger mind, yeah? We're like that. Now, the interest and attention goes onto the screen, yeah? But in this case, the audience, which is what we are, forgets itself and takes itself to be that which it's following on the screen, yeah? So by becoming engaged in the story, and we're engaged in the story, it's stock, everyone's engaged in it, but the over-engagement with it is the identification as the story, yeah? And that's an activity. It's not something that ever happened. It's happening. So this is, if you've been listening to Zen Bitch Slap, you know, there is an end to that also, yeah? I am meant to become obsolete. We put this information out not to have 5-year subscriptions. It's an invitation to speed up a process so that you can be freed. Yeah. And live as if you're freed. So this is all reverse engineering. Some things have happened, and so I saw the problem from the solution. And to me, the problem is an activity, a mental activity. And let's say that I call them mental processes. I don't like to call them mind because they're not mind. They're mental processes. And the processes are, let's say, memory, perception, yeah. We believe we see things, yeah, and thoughts. So that's what I call the mental processes. And the mental processes, if you're engaged with them, anytime what you are gets engaged with them, they're all in the act of being identified as a self. Yes? So I'm going to explain it. So it sounds like I'm talking about a verb and then the noun self, but it's all a verb because there is no self, yeah? It's the act of being identified as a self. It's one stretch of activity. There's not an activity that the self could stop because there is no self. Yeah? The self, the feeling of being the noun is part of the verbing. It's not a verb about a noun. The feeling of being a noun is when you believe the verbing. When you believe the mental processes, then you're in the act of believing that you're a self. Yes? So every time we get engaged with those activities, they're in the act of being identified as a self. There is no self to be, so they're always in the act of being identified. Yeah? So when you jack into your brain, the memories, it's so obvious, just take a look. The memories picture you as body. Yes? You can't have a memory of the last time. I cannot have a memory of the last time I was in North Carolina as spirit, you know? All right, there was my spirit, and then your spirit, and I was here somehow, some weird way. I walked through the door somehow. No, for me to remember North Carolina and me being here, I have to be a body to be remembered. Yes, obviously. Now, it's not, that's what it does, all the memories. So all you need to do is see one memory, and it's all the memories, yeah? You're always remembered as a body. And if you try to remember your emotional state or your spirit, it's referenced as a body. You can't get away from the paradigm of the system as the system. So the the memories, us as a body. The thoughts, yeah? Obviously, you're thought about as a body, yeah? Because mostly the thought system, which is happening now, is usually about yesterday and tomorrow, yeah? So right there, you can see its value, which should have you running to the fucking hills. Because its value, it's happening now, but it's about yesterday and tomorrow. So obviously the thought system values yesterday and tomorrow more than now. Why would you want that to be the theme setter? Literally, what more? You don't need to read 800 pages. Just see that. The thought system happening now is about yesterday and tomorrow. That's what it's about. And the thought system pictures us as a body. That's the only way you can be thought about. You cannot be thought about as spirit. You can be thought about as a spiritual person, a body, but you can't be thought about as spirit. It's pointless, yeah? So the thought system pictures you as a body. The memories picture you as a body, yeah? The perceptions see bodies. So anytime we're jacked into that system, we're going to be, what's being presented by the system is the act of being identified as a body, as a self. And how it reinforces that is thoughts happen, simple. You can see a bottle somewhere here. Oh, let's say this book. Book. Everyone sees a book. Now I can change the meaning of the book. My book. So now the book is being used to imply the one who has the book, yes? So the book, you don't see the one who has the book in a way. All you see is the book, and the book is appearing. But see, this appearance is used to imply another appearance, which is me. Yeah? So let's say there's thoughts. Thousands of thoughts. Each thought just coming and going. You don't know where, you don't know like a thought's coming from South Carolina, do you? You see it and then you try to duck and everything, it hits you. It's sort of just, there's a hearing of it, yeah? Hearing of it. So here's the thought. Going by. But now, let's say the mental process claims the thought, and now the thought is called mine, or about me. So now each thought is being used to point to this thought, which I'm the thinker. You never see the thinker. You see a body. You never see the thinker. But the thinker is implied by the claiming of the thoughts. By the claiming of the thoughts, the thinker is implied, yeah? By the claiming of the feelings, the feeler is implied. By the claiming of all the actions that happen through this, the actor is implied. That's the bondage of self. That's what it is. It's an activity. Its huge influence concerning money is never money, it's the my. Its huge interest about life is never really life, it's my life. Yeah? That's where all the meaning is. The meaning is downloaded to whatever topic comes across the little scanning board through the my. So we used to always use the example of money, and I wish everyone here has a lot of money, especially, hopefully, yes, donating. But I wish all of you have tons of money, but I don't want any of you to have my money. You see? The money hasn't been changed. It's the exact same thing, but it's changed completely with the my. That's not happening once every 30 years. It's all freaking day. All freaking day, what's ever being noted is being claimed to imply the notee or the nota, which is this mythical phantom. That's the bondage of self. You ever have a friend of mine who was really good when I was a kid? He could draw like a little thing on a piece of paper and have like 300 of them. And when you went like this, it looked like a real, that's what it's like, exactly. It's like my, and there you go. That's you. You were there before, you're going to be there in the future, therefore you're here now. It's just a bonding activity. You can see it because you're not it. And if you see it as an activity, what happens if it's you? You're stuck with it forever. But what happens if that you that's driving you crazy is seen as an activity? What does an activity allow you to entertain? It can stop, can it? Mm-hmm. If it's you, how's it going to stop? But if it's an activity, I don't run 24 hours a day. Yeah. Usually you're running and then there's a realization, hey, I'm tired, and you stop. Well, there you go. Because you're not it. Yeah. It's an activity. If you saw what's implying you as this lifelong continuum was an activity, a possibility is of it stopping would arise. And if you entertain it, it will be so. Yeah. As Jesus says, as you believe, so it is. And it's true. He was explaining mind, the power of mind. Yeah? It's done according to your belief. So, why would I want to share this? Because if you can see what you're intimately calling you as an activity or as a foreign installment, the possibility will be available that you can be free from it. And then if that dawns on you, it will reverse engineer and tell you you've been trying to be free as it for a long, long time. Yeah? You want it to be there when you get it, so to speak. And it's not available. Yeah? So by seeing what you're not, so here, if you see the non-existent thing is a non-existent thing, you will not be seeking salvation for it. Yeah? If you see what you're not, you will stop looking for what can't be found. The horse will be in front of the cart, things will be simple, and this is a fact of life. Non-duality is a fact of life. You can argue with it afterwards, but you're never going to be able to study it from before it. Yeah? You are never going to see the seeing, ever. So it's made a lot of things very simple for me. So I can walk in here a little bit discombobulated and just sit here, you know, I don't have to go into a get-ready room for 3 hours, and, you know, which I wouldn't mind, like a massage or something. Get-ready room, get-set room, and then pause a lot. No, fuck it. It's always available at all times. Yeah? It's downloading constantly. So you can tap in at any moment. And I'm the most reluctant person to be sharing this, because I think most of us are at the phase of beating a dead horse. You know, you have to really question if it's service or not. If it's service, I'm really motivated. If I feel like it's disservice, I'm not. Because I think people think they know non-duality. They've read enough books, they've studied it, they think they've got the understanding and the concepts. But what we are is being non-duality. Yeah? The knowing isn't gonna be enough. You can't, an understanding, it doesn't stop there. The understanding is just like a crutch, let's say, until you just let it go. The need to know and to need to understand and need to get it, and just live in that free fall of being it, you know? Where now the true security is insecure, you know? You don't know what's going on. I like understandings. I think they're helpful, but they're not going to produce the vision. The vision is unproducible. It's already available right now. The understanding can make it seem a little easier to understand as time unfolds here. But the understanding is not vision. Vision is prior to understanding. So I believe you can understand what you're not. You can study what you're not. You can experience what you're not quite a lot. But you can't apply that to what you are, because you are it, like it or not. Yeah? You are what you're looking for. So, great Zen master, Huang Po. If you like to read a book, Teachings of Huang Po, very direct, I believe. He's, you know, what I really liked about him, there was a scribe for the emperor's court, you know, a professional writer for the emperor's court that used to see him, and he would write the stuff down that night after he was at a talk. It wasn't like 300 years later. I mean, it was pretty right out of the horse's mouth, so to speak, which I really like. And he would point out constantly so many things. One of them is whatever can be perceived. So right now, look around. Whatever can be perceived cannot be perceiving. So he just cleaned the whole game board, because we're all off the game board now. So when St. Francis says is what's looking is what you're looking for, we're all off the board, because it doesn't say who's looking, which would be the body. It's what's looking, which is no thing. Yeah? So whatever can be perceived, this, you're perceiving this right now. This is perceiving that, cannot be perceiving. End of story. So you are not aware. You're not the one who's conscious. You're not any of that. It's just a story. It's a story that comes after that implies it's before. That's the whole mental state's move. See, one thing, man, the mental state does not follow time like we do. It does not follow time like we do. The mental state, which is a process, comes after what you would call living, which is conscious contact, yeah? So the conscious contact is the seeing, hearing, feeling, tasting, touching. And then the mental process arises after that, yeah? And then tries to make a story that there's someone that was seeing, hearing, feeling, tasting, touching, yeah? It's not that convincing, so when it tries to claim it right now, but so it doubles up and says, well, I was the one that was seeing this last 40 years, and I will be the one that's seeing the next 20 years, so therefore I'm still the one that's seeing right now. See? It uses memory of you being the seer to feel like you're the seeing now. See? So it's using time. So the mental process comes after conscious contact, yeah? You can listen to people talk and they'll go, I didn't want to feel that, yeah? So a feeling was noted, and then their mental state arose and said, I didn't want to feel that, but it's like a Johnny come lately. You already felt it. Yeah? So the feeling's always first, always, and then the mental process comes after. But the mental process, like Ramana said, it's such a beautiful use of word when he says there's the presupposing. So supposing or assuming is just that. It happens now, but in this assuming, it presupposes itself. Yeah? So the supposing arises now, but it presupposes itself that it was there before, and then it's going to be there later. You see? Because self can't generate any light right now. It's reflective. Yeah? So the logic is, I was there because you've been thinking about you as a body for freaking years in the past, seemingly, and I will be there. You're worrying about a certain body in the future, and therefore I am here now as a body. That's how it gets there, yeah? It doesn't start with I'm here now as a body. It wouldn't fucking take hold, because the consciousness in contact would seen as being before. You would be more attentive to just seeing, hearing, feeling, tasting, touching, yeah, than that which came later, which was, oh, it's me, yeah? The me would be like an ornament on a tree after December 25th, right, after. It'd be on there. It would come too late and put it on there, yes? And you would be quite clear, it'd be obvious, because you're seeing, hearing, feeling, tasting, touching. But it's, our attention and interest is on the story of us. And so it's on the story that you were here before and that you're going to be here later. So that's how it presupposes us now. Yeah? So it presupposes us. So here's us as a living event, seeing, hearing, feeling, tasting, touching. The mental process arises and says, I'm the seer, I'm the hearer, I'm the feeler, I'm the taster, I'm the toucher. And now suddenly it leapfrogs behind the seeing, hearing, feeling, tasting, touching, and claims to be the one who's seeing, which is mind-boggling. Yeah? And he's probably knew it was a sham right from the get-go, and is totally amazed it's gotten away with it for so fucking long. It really is. That's why it's in so much anxiety all day, because it's just waiting to get caught, you know, because it's just so freaking obvious. He just went, whoops, and he looked around, and hey, these guys are fucking idiots. All right, I'm going to write an incredible story about, you know, on and on. And it's just really, it's like waiting to get nabbed at every second. So, so the mental process comes later, but implies that it's before. It doesn't have many tricks. There's just a few, and that's one of the biggest ones. It comes after you, yet it implies that it's the you before everything. This is what makes something impossible be possible. It's us. The only thing that could fool reality is reality. We're reality. When we're fooling ourselves. And it's fine, you know. But hopefully maybe the reality gets sick and tired of it, and then it wants out, but it tries to get out with the thing that represents in, and it gets stuck in its own little device, in a sense, yeah, because it's identified as the non-existent thing now. Where if it saw itself as not the non-existent thing, the out that it's so dearly wishing for would be always available. Not because it was mine and got out of it, it would realize it had never been in what it thought it was in. The way out isn't getting out. The way out is realizing you're not in. That's the way that stabilizes out, yeah? And if you get a taste, let's call it a logic. It's not a mental logic. The mental logic seems so logical when you're in it, but if you saw it, it's insane, totally insane. There's other logics that will demonstrate through you, and then you'll start picking it up. Like in recovery, we say you have it by giving it away and stuff like that. These aren't the way the mental state sees things. But they work much, much better than the mental state's way, yeah? So you start getting a little flavor of what it's like, and then that theme, that clarity never goes awry. It just keeps reestablishing itself. And then you start seeing things very inclusively and win-wins, and it changes the action figure quite a lot. And then the action figure gets what it truly wants, and it doesn't want enlightenment. It doesn't. It doesn't want awakening. It wants to feel an ease and comfort in what it calls its own skin, and it wants to be able to navigate and outshine circumstances and situations. It wants to be content and satisfied. It's buying a mental idea. It isn't. The mental state is talking about enlightenment and awakening, but the body doesn't give a damn about that. It just wants to feel chilled out. Yeah. Because if you start feeling chilled out, you'll lose all interest in the need to be liberated completely. I mean, seriously, I have absolutely no interest in any of that at all, not one iota of it. Because first of all, you get relief from the need to be liberated because you're not that which needs to be liberated. What needs to be liberated is the non-existent thing, and it can never liberate itself. You just see it as non-existent, and that's its liberation. Yeah? It doesn't want the existence that has been given. It doesn't want to be the center of the universe. It's way too fucking much for it, yeah? I feel. So it just wants to be a Toyota, functional, drive around, go places, get next to other Toyotas. You know what I mean? It really doesn't have a huge agenda. It's not into the agenda of awakening because it realizes the passenger's going to get out. The Toyota ain't going to be there when you arrive at awakening or enlightenment. It's just a vehicle, Yeah. So what's the plan for today? Now, how are we doing this? Yes? Oh, we're going to have a question.
I have a question.
All right, yeah, go ahead.
Oh, all right.
Paul, you were talking about entertaining. Is this on? Is it working? Okay, great. You were talking about entertaining the idea that maybe we're not this action figure. What's the difference between that and, the saying, well, yeah, I broke up with my boyfriend, but there's really not a me here, and he's really not a he.
Because entertainment isn't thought.
Okay, what is it?
It's not like a narrative. It's mind, let's say, looking out a big freaking window and just seeing what shows up. Yeah? It has no intention of, I want to see a bird. It's just, it's available. Yeah? And what it's looking for doesn't come in the package of thought. Yeah? The thought may have set off the avalanche, but that's not the snow. It's entertaining. It's like a sense-feltness of largeness, let's say. Yeah, I'm feeling it now. You can just entertain possibility. You would call it thinking if it was thoughts, but it isn't thoughts, so it's not thinking. But you would call it that. Where it's like when people say they're thinking about something, this is, I think, like that, but it's entertaining. It's not thoughts, yeah? But let's say it's like thinking. So I'm sitting here, I'm not thinking, but the mind's entertaining. Like space, like light, stuff like that. So there's a huge difference to me.
It's kind of like being open.
There's no paragraphs, there's no fucking commas or emphasis, nothing. It's just, yeah.
Yeah, it's like being open and observing, just kind of sitting back and watching.
I'm wary of that observing. Does that which is always observant observe? I don't believe so. That which is always aware isn't aware, doesn't do awareness, yeah? I'm not a real believer of observing. I think you see stuff, but I don't think it's directed by intention. Yeah? Yeah. That's just my opinion. A lot of people like the idea of observer or the witness. I'm not one of those. I just, yeah. I think it's too easy to it's sort of like, observing sounds like observing stopped. and is observing. You know what I mean? If something was always seeing and then it stopped and turned to one little thing, maybe you could call that observing. But I don't believe that which is seeing stops and observes. I don't. Just sees. That's his nature. Yeah. So, yeah. So, see, I really love to emphasize, you know, looking at like commas and periods like speed bumps, run right over them. Don't let your head get quarantined into that fucking little conceptual closet. Our minds are like, big minds are like marathon runners that have been fucking locked into a closet. You know, they need to run, you know, out. You need to entertain like serenity and peace and, you know, not conceptualized parcels of a dead fucking delivery. Because to me, thinking about anything neuters it, really. It just neuters the whole situation. So it's entertaining is like going under that waterfall out there. That's what entertaining's like. It's a sense-felt event that's never, it doesn't end, yeah? We just get disengaged to deal with shit during the day, but at any second, if you go, there's no going back there, it's never gone. Yeah, that's the beauty of it. It's always, see, if you find that which precedes everything else, that's as far as you can go. You can only go to the seeing, yeah? And then you want to call, if you seem to go anywhere in that seeing, it would be grace, but, you know, that's it. That's when you put the ball down, because now, this is what Ramana says. He says, all right, there's the presupposing of a non-existent thing that wants to get salvation for that non-existent thing. What impossibilities does that provide a possibility to? All right, then he says the next sentence, and this is usually constructed around self-inquiry, but I don't want to give anything, just talk about the situation, yeah? So he says, in this condition, then your spiritual practices themselves will be reinforcing the non-existent thing. How can they destroy it? You see? Now, if that shoe fits, wear it. That's a good one. That's that one size fits all statement to me. Yeah? The spiritual, just feel it. If it feels like it's so, man, let it download and tell you a lot. Are your spiritual practices themselves being used to reinforce the non-existent thing? And if they are, how can those same things that have already been put to use by the mental state destroy the mental state? Yeah? I mean, that one caused my spiritual pants to fall down, and then I never picked them up. I was like, what? Yeah. Because it's sure that shoe fit. And I realized that I'd been wearing that shoe for freaking 30, 40 years. I had been practicing. It was just a perfect description of a lot of my behavior. That my spiritual practices, which I thought were elevated more than other things. I thought they had a spiritual electrified fence. They would not be able to be claimed or captured by the smallish little self. Yet, when it was described that was a possibility, and I read it, it seemed to be it resonated through years and years of living, and it explained that's exactly what was happening. I was under the delusion I was getting out of something that was reinforcing the idea of being in it, all the while. And it triggered a lot of old things, because I've done this in many different topics. Now, I'll share one thing. I had trouble for many years with my digestion. You know, who knows why, but I did. So I was always looking for some relief as the action figure, of course, why not? And so I found this stuff at Whole Foods. I don't know if you have Whole Foods here, but they had Whole Foods, and they had these probiotic drinks, like little milk bottles from Canada. They were like $48 for like 8 of them or something. And so I bought them, and I drank them religiously for like a year. And I'm trying to say, am I feeling better? I don't know, you know, but I believed, hey, I gave something I had value, money. I put my money where my mouth was, bought it, drank it. Just went on for a year, and then I just wanted to find out what was going on. So there was a place in Tennessee called Smoky Mountain Labs, I think it was Tennessee, and they would do stool samples. They would study your shit, basically. So I signed up. They sent me a thing with, you know, for 3 days capturing the shit, and then a thing to ask what I want them to look for, you know? Of course, parasite, everyone's always afraid of parasites as a parasite. I don't want any more parasites as a parasite. So I asked parasite, and then I wrote, you know, checked all these things, and I was excited. I got the return stuff, and I opened it up, and it's parasite, no parasites. Oh, far out, that's great. And then I look, and it said, all right, signs of beneficial flora. Now I've been putting in like zillions of fucking cells in for a year. They should have been like a massive civilization. And it said signs of beneficial flora, 0.0. There was absolutely no sign that there was ever stuff there, that there is stuff there now. It was like, I went, what? How could that be? I poured trillions of this stuff in me. And then it says, all right, in explanation for your wonder and awe, finding out that you've been pouring for nothing is, you have 2 bacteria in there that love the beneficial flora. So I was actually performing like a gourmet catering service because these fucking bacteria couldn't get out. So I was bringing them like fucking like, you know, wild caught salmon every day. And they were just getting bigger and bigger. And all the while I was thinking I was doing the right thing and I was really helping myself out. But in fact, I was doing the exact opposite. Wear the shoe, you know, if it fits, wear it. Well, I've had many experiences of this, thinking I've set out on a noble cause that was totally commandeered and turned into the exact opposite of what I wanted. Maybe it's happening. Yeah. And this doesn't mean you don't meditate. It means there's never been anyone meditating. That's all. Meditate away. It doesn't matter. See, everyone wants to think, all right, they go to the other side of the ledger. Oh, I got to stop doing all that. Go to this side of the ledger. Is there you that's doing it all? If it ain't, if you're inclined to do it, you'll do it. If you're not, you won't. And then when something that has a great amount of service in your life runs out and switches over to a disservice, if you continue it, you'll see it. Yeah, and so you'll get off the dead horse just like the moment it's dying. Instead of riding it for fucking 5 years, you'll see it's dead and you'll be open to being led somewhere else. And so because you're not going to be dogmatically sitting on a philosophy. You're going to be going along with things, and yeah, and you'll know if it's working or not. Yeah. So this is a trip to Den Hoang Po again. He says, listen, and again, I do not believe these are sadists. Yeah. Because he would say, hey, you can't use the Buddha to seek the Buddha. All right, so let's say you think you're Steve or Bill or Mary, and thinking you're Mary, it makes total sense for Mary to seek the Buddha through Buddhism, yeah? Because Mary seems to need a lot of stuff, and she's hoping to get some of the Buddhist quality through Buddhism, so it makes total sense, and become more like a Buddha as Mary. See, Mary never gets really questioned. It's just Mary's going to get shit added on, maybe some subtracted, but never the Mary. Mary will always be there. More of Mary, a little of Mary, or a better Mary. Yeah. Okay, so he's saying, he's looking at Steve, this master, but he doesn't address it as Steve. He goes, the Buddha, you can't use the Buddha, aka Steve. You can't use the Buddha to seek the Buddha. Well, all right. And then he doesn't let you get up from that shot. He goes, you can't use big M mind to seek mind. And then you can't use light to seek light. Now, it makes total sense for Steve to seek light, because Steve needs light. He's very unclear. He's on the consequential level. He doesn't understand how inconsiderate he is to other people. He needs a lot of light in his life, yeah? But this, and that could be so, and maybe it's a good idea for Steve to get that. But this master's looking at Steve as exactly as what he's not, which is he's not Steve. He's the Buddha. And he's trying to talk to the Buddha, not through Steve, because that's pointless. In other words, these talks are not to you about being a mind. They're to mind about you. I have talked to so many yous about the Buddha, it goes nowhere. But now I talk to the Buddha about you, and that goes somewhere. See? All right, so now, all right, the Buddha, you can't use the Buddha to seek the Buddha. What would happen if Steve heard that and realized he wasn't Steve? Is the Buddha going to look another second for the Buddha? I mean, really, not 1 second. He doesn't have to, let me think. No, it's like that, because he got it. Yeah. He didn't get it as Steve, he got it as the Buddha. Yeah. That's the fact of non-duality. If Steve gets it and tries to become like the Buddha, isn't he falling into the same description of the Buddhist using the Buddha to seek the Buddha? Even if he's using non-duality. Yeah? So it's seeing what you're not. Yeah? That's the point. And then finding out what you are. You may find out you're the Buddha. Then obviously the Buddha isn't going to waste 1 second looking for itself. It's going to be enjoying being the Buddha. Yeah? And it's going to realize there's no other option it has. The Buddha has no other option than to be the Buddha. It can't study the Buddha. It can't know the Buddha. It can only be the Buddha. Yeah? So what would you do with all the studying then? Well, let's study what we're not. Why? So that we can see we're not that. Yeah? That's what these talks are. There are no non-duality meetings. You tell me where they'd be. There are none. They're all duality meetings, basically. You're teaching duality. Yeah? We're talking about the non-existent thing. So that if you see that which you're calling you is the non-existent thing, then you won't be driven to seek salvation for the freaking thing. Yeah? Your interest and attention will go to, there'll be better deposits of the interest and attention. Maybe it will be used to enrich your day here, instead of being used to enslave you to the idea of that one who was there and then. Yeah? And maybe, just maybe, it would be more than enough. Yeah? Just being chilled out. I don't get anything from these talks. I never have. It's just a big emptiness. It's like a hole. And I don't even like to use the word empty because it means the void. No, it's not that. There's just a neutrality of it. And, you know, the mental state likes to fucking electrocute itself. It likes to be shocked, you know. This is sort of like, man, when I go home, no one even asks me how my trips were anymore, because I just say they're over, basically. Because that's exactly how it feels. It feels like it's over. I just was in Toronto. It's like completely gone. Yeah, it's such a weird, it's strange, because the mental state's still trying to fucking claw out. It's like a chicken looking for that imaginary thing, you know. It's trying to get some freaking importance out of it, and it's just been starved, you know. Yeah. So, yeah, any questions? What are we going to do? Are we having breaks and stuff?
We're having breaks whenever you'd like, Paul. You're in charge of the talk. However you want to do it.
Well, let's have any questions? Yep.
So an observation and a question. Okay, so
before you asked, you said, I wonder if I'm being of service or not, and I was going to observe that you're absolutely being of service, it seems to me, as an entertainer and also an affirmer, but when it comes to instruction, there's no value there, because someone who doesn't already have the understanding within themselves is not going to get any exquisite instruction. It's just gobbledygook. So this is the question that I have for you. It seems to me that I want to see if you agree with this, but it seems to me there's a very inconvenient or hard truth, which is that a person has either already had a glimpse of no self that's been exhilarating, and they then fall in love with that, and their attention goes there as their ongoing way of being in the world and being alive, or not. And there's nothing that a person can do to come into that if it doesn't come by grace. And so there's no lecture they can go to, there's nothing they can read. Do you agree with that?
I do and I don't, though, because I'm also a believer in a statement in the Course which it says, and I've had ample experience of it in my life in recovery as a demonstration, but in the Course it says, I'm paraphrasing, I'm not a Course expert, but it says, you and I are the dreaming of the dream. So let's say this is dreaming, yeah? And we're going to dream ourselves out of the dream. And as we do, the dream will get happier. I would say this is an example of that, yeah? So let's say the mind can't get out of what it's not in, but it can use the inability to get out of what it's not in to get out. Yes, you see? I find, as the Course would say in the chapter, I Need Do Nothing, if mind intends it, it's going to be so. So there's total value in all the failures and all the defeats because mind's dreaming itself out of the dreaming. So some people get a hit and then they have, let's say, a further leap. But see, the fact is, it's very contradictory, because if something downloads in you, it's part of it's always going to be, it's always been this way. Yeah? So it invalidates the reality of everything, like there, then, and now. You know, it's usually a strong hit. It may, and then this mountain will come again, and you'll see it, but you'll travel differently through it. Yeah, but in my program in AA, when I got struck sober, those 4 years before then, I thought there was no value in my life. Let's say, yeah. I just was ripping and roaring, taking advantage of people best I could. Didn't seem to have any value in any things that I was doing. Yet when I got struck sober, that whole history that I thought would be easily thrown out has been the most useful value in my life here. So I believe wherever you are, even if you're in the conundrum of trying to get out of what you're not in, there's still huge value because you're there. Yeah? Not you as Steve or Paul, but as mind. And mind, see, no one's missing the boat. Yeah? No one's missing the boat. And then if it dawns on you, if it is always available at all times and that nothing else had ever happened, there was no longing or missing or fucking up or trying to, all of this was just a charade mind was playing with itself, but inevitably it's dreaming itself out of here. You know, so I believe satsangs are just that. They're an example here in the dreaming. Here's all these individual people getting at this place. And when we're entertaining ideas, and I humbly believe this can be used by all of us as none of us, yeah, to dream itself out of the dream. So you guys say yes and no, and both. Yeah, for me, it's all yes and no. So yeah, there's nothing you can do, yet you're going to do a lot of shit. Yeah? And I'm telling you, even a meager understanding of non-duality as the dualistic figure is better than most therapy. Seriously. So you will, it will be used no matter what. I mean, look at it. If I was, I always joke, but I would love to be a psychiatrist and my field of expertise would be what's not happening. And I would work only one day and I'd retire because I would book like 60 people for that one day because I know their sessions are going to be really short. They're thinking they're going to get an hour, but when they come in and they start bitching about what's not happening, I go, that's not happening, see you next week. And they'd be out, yeah? So, do you know what I mean? So the understanding, let's not take it away from non-duality. Because again, it's going to be mind using even a cursory understanding in the hand of mind can do great fucking works. Because mind precedes everything. Yeah? Mind, that which is dreaming. precedes everything. So it's just like there was people, my friend was with Carlos Castaneda for 2.5 years, yeah, with the witches and all these people. And he wrote a lot of books, and a lot of people came to the conclusion, experts, that he was a fraud, you know? Yet, tons of people got a whole lot out of those books. It doesn't matter. It's mind, yeah? Mind could read a cookbook, and it would go off like the, you know, the Advaita, whatever, Bible, because mind precedes everything, yeah? So even this, there's no wasted of anything. No one here is wasting any time. And if it is a waste of time, it's going to lead to a huge value of recognizing it. Because what great value a failed system offers you by failing you? I mean, fucking great, because then you're left with mind again. Yeah? And I'm telling you, if you took everything away, mind precedes it all. There's only seeing, awareness, bright, whatever. Yeah? And that seeing isn't going to be thwarted by its own dreaming. It may look like it, like you're getting confused, but it can it's all made up knots and everything. So no one's blowing it with non-duality. Unless they want to blow it. And the blowing it will only be temporary. You can only blow non-duality in time, seemingly. Yeah? You can't blow it in timelessness. Because it erases all the shenanigans in time. So, you know, I know, we always want to be relevant, right, ourselves. I'm the only one who could fuck up non-duality. No, you're not. You can't fuck it up. Even the most fucked up view of non-duality still doesn't do anything, doesn't change anything. Really doesn't. It may irritate you to lead you to a better one. Hey, I can't stand that motherfucker. Whoa, you know what I mean? You don't know what's happening. All I know is I've seen it in my own life in recovery. And I've seen it in tons of people's lives. People who would have guaranteed they were worthless have been put to great use. Yeah, by surrendering their little small myopic view and opening up to themselves, but calling it a higher power. Because all there is us anyway. Yeah, but you want to call it other things, far out. You're dreaming. Yeah, maybe you rather meet yourself as something other than what you are, so you make up a higher power, or the beloved. You know, in Sufism, they're just as clear as anyone else. They just decided it's more fun. I'm going to call it the beloved. So I see the beloved everywhere. Whatever, it's all mind dreaming. It's wonderful to me. Yeah, I'm just here as a warning. See, I feel really, I'm a bearer of bad news, you know, in a lot of ways. Because a lot of times, you know, kirtan music, it's really weird. I get saddled up with kirtan music, which is like devotional music, which I don't have an inch of in my body. But sometimes they open up for me, and when they do, everyone's ecstatic. And I get up, I go, well, here's the bad news. You know what I mean? Because not that it's bad news, but if people hear it a certain way, they'll make it bad news. They're like, I can't play anymore. Why would you want to rip yourself off of your own passions based on some fucking dried up dogma? Nah. Do you know what I mean? If I'm not a surfer, I shouldn't surf. Give me a freaking break. If you have passion, get in the water as many times as you can. Yeah? That's what I don't like. I hate when mind claims everything. And it's claimed non-duality. And wait, as it gets bigger, it's going to get worse, really. I swear to God, now they're combining non-duality therapy. How could there be therapy in non-duality? You know what I mean? They're trying to wed it with all these different things. Just like Zen. Remember Zen? And they had Zen breakfast trays, or Zen, everything was stopped. You know, Zen eyes, whatever. Zen was there. They'll probably have this soon. Advaita looks. Get hair, you know, haircuts. Non-duality haircut. It looks like you don't give a shit. You know, you don't know what's going to go on. It's funny. But the beautiful thing, it's untouchable, because it's a fact. Like it or not, it's a fact. There are no two. Yeah, so, yeah, let's take a break. Oh, no. Oh, sorry.
Questions over here.
Yes. Wait a minute, she doesn't even know she had a question. Don't let them force you to ask a question. She was like, what?
A few years back, I was listening to one of your YouTube things, or no, it's on Zen Bitch Lab, and you said something to the effect that you think about something that happened yesterday, and it's like it never happened, and then you said because it didn't. And I mean, that's just a very simple statement, but it's stuck in my mind for years now. And I've started noticing, and maybe it's because of my age or whatever, I don't know. But I've started noticing that very thing, that things seem to me like they didn't happen. Now, like, it's like they're gone. It's like yesterday is like it didn't happen. What did you mean by that? Did you simply mean that it didn't happen because this is a dream? Is that what you meant?
I wasn't there when I said it. But now, what did I think I meant? That's all I can do. Well,
What do you think you meant?
well, I believe that everything is happening, but nothing ever happened, yeah? So everything is happening, but it never culminates into it happened, yeah? Because I believe everything is verbing, extremely. So what happens is, they've proven it now with the science of the brain, that when you remember something, you remember a memory of it, yeah? So basically, there was never anything that ever happened. You're just having memories of things that have happened, yeah? You see what I mean? So when I said nothing ever really happened, that's what I mean. Yeah, it's dreaming, if you want to put it that way.
It happened in the dream. It happened in the dream.
No, it's happening in dreaming. See, it sounds like something happened in the past in another thing called dream. I don't believe there's a dream. I believe there's dreaming. I do not believe there's a dream. There's dreaming. It's different, much different. Yeah? The dream gives it too much credit. It's like I was just at a talk the other day. People were talking to me, and I go, listen, you could go to sleep and have 50 hours of dreaming, yeah? Or you could nod out and have 2 minutes of dreaming, and it would take the exact same amount of time to forget the dream. As soon as you woke up, you would forget the dream, be it 30 years of dreaming or 2 seconds of dreaming, yes? It's 30 years of dreaming doesn't take more time to wake up from, yes? If you went to sleep and you dreamt of 50 years in that dreaming, when you woke up, it would be dismissed just as easy if you dreamt for 2 minutes, yeah? Because obviously nothing happened. If something happened, it would take a while to get rid of it, yeah? But when you see things disappear so completely, they tell you that they weren't there to begin with. Because something that was truly there, it would take a while to disappear it. But if things disappear like in no time, they were just an appearance. Yeah? You can reverse engineer a lot of stuff. It reveals a lot. Like I did when I was doing talks in recovery, I did them for a long time, every Monday night, if I was in America at this same workshop. And so I had a lot of Mondays. I went through a lot of Mondays, and, just like any other day, a lot of stuff can happen. So sometimes I was waiting to hear if I had AIDS or not before the talk. Sometimes my fairy princess, my girlfriend, left me right before the talk started. Sometimes my knee was screwed up or something in my legs, whatever. As soon as the talk started to happen, I forgot everything. Didn't feel any pain, didn't feel any emotional, financial, circumstantial, All the stuff that had been weighing upon me was dismissed like it never happened. Maybe it came back when I seemed to have come back after the talk. But its absence revealed a lot, because I said, how could this that was so pressing be forgotten so quickly, as if it never happened? Because it never happened. That's how. It was simple. It never happened. That's that's why it can be so quickly forgotten, because it needs you to be remembering it. Yeah. When you're turned to something else, it's forgotten, because it can only be seemingly here by being remembered. Yeah. Now, we are something that doesn't need to be remembered, because it can never be forgotten, which is what we are. Yeah. So that which is totally forgettable has to be remembered. And what's totally forgettable is what's not happening. Yeah. You see it? Get the flavor of it. It's because if you get the flavor of mind, my humble demonstration of it, I'm not saying anything, but my mind works differently than the old mental logic that used to be the GPS. And by following it, like there was a following of the old GPS, yeah, I can get a flavor of it, and it just has such a better feel than the old downloads, yeah, the horizontal downloads, yeah. And if you get a taste of it, you'll recognize its theme. You'll recognize, in other words, you'll be able to see its order, its signature on things, yeah? And it's coming through us. See, you don't blame the radio for the music that's played, do you? You know, this could have another modality running it. A modality that wasn't based on self-centeredness. Self-centeredness was there, but it wasn't the primary working system, yeah? And you would get a flavor from it that can only hope for you to find way in the future. The mental process can't deliver the flavor of this, yeah? Yeah. And then you see the faith being moved because you have an observant quality, you're sentient here, yeah? Most people, like when they've changed, it's other people that see it, yeah? We're really quite late usually. But there will be, the action figure will have an observation, hey, I'm traveling lighter. It doesn't know why, but it sees that it's been traveling lighter, yeah? I mean, the lightness may take months, but it starts, wow, something has changed. Yeah? So this flavor, it'll capture you, you know, just see it. And then the faith, see, I believe everyone in this room is faith. I think this whole event is faith. Yeah. I think you're appearing to me and me appearing to you is faith. Yeah. I believe faith is a force of big M mind, and that it manifests here by the vehicle it's put in. So if there's faith in the failed system of thought, you're going to produce a lot of anxiety based on what's not happening. So you're going to live an interpretation here, and it will override your conscious contact. You'll be much more important. Yeah, that same faith, if put somewhere else, and I'm not saying you're the one to put it anywhere else, to put something else will produce an ease and comfort right now, and in the circumstances you find yourself in. Same faith, exact same energy, but it's going to manifest in the vehicle it's put in. If you're identified as the mental state is directing the faith. And it's going to have faith in things. And to have faith in things, it has to deny the no-thingness that you are. It has to. That's its job. You can't argue with it. You can't. That's just the way it goes. That's how it's built. Yeah? But if that faith comes out of that system, you'll have faith in no-thing. Yeah? Yeah. You'll feel like you're okay, even though you have no evidence to verify it, like money or anything like that. You'll just be okay. Yeah? You'll be able to be in Toronto and then come here and I mean, walked in, could have had like crumbs on my, just eating a bologna sandwich. It just happens, yeah. Because you're available. Because you're present. And if you're present, you're available. And if you're available, you're of service. That's how it goes. Yeah.